In today's junk journal with me, I'm going to be experimenting with fabric in my junk journal for day 24 of the Junk Journal January challenge. Hey, it's Meg, welcome back to my channel. So fabric is not something that I really use a lot within my journals. I mean, sometimes I might use bits of ribbon and lace, but fabric isn't really one of the materials that I am immediately drawn to. So I thought that this would be an interesting prompt to include within the challenge because it kind of gets me at least a little bit out of my comfort zone. I don't know whether you use fabric in your journal. Maybe let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to know how many of us are doing mixed media to the point where we're including different fabrics. I think a lot of us might use like ribbons and lace, which is also a really nice textural element. So I got out a bunch of different sort of laces and trims that I have in my stash that I've got there to the side. And whilst I was thinking about which ones to include, because as you'll see, I've got some quite interesting and very different ones that I ended up including, as you'll have seen. But whilst I'm thinking about how I want to include those, I thought that it would be nice just to do some collaging on this page first and then be able to use the fabric trims as more of an accent, because I didn't really want to use them in the piece necessarily, which I know you could, and maybe you could do some stitching and things like that, but it wasn't really something that I wanted to do, and I really wanted them to be more sort of tabs and trims. So I'm focusing just on building up a collaged background here, and I'm working with a lot of different bits and pieces. And the page on the left that's got the sort of patchwork page going on, when I turned to it, I thought, oh, I really don't want to use green, you know, just when you're not in the mood for a certain colour. I thought I really can't be doing with this green, but I tried to work with it, and you know, because you've got the green on either side of the page, I thought, well, let's just see how we can include bits of it. So I was covering up a fair bit of it, as you'll see there, but I tried to keep some of it just for that bit of interest on my page. And I'm diving in there to my kit box, which I remember when I put it together, I was like, if you come back on day like 23, 24, this little basket will be in an absolute mess. And lo and behold, it is, which is why I'm keeping it sort of a little bit off camera to not subject you guys to the mess that is in that basket. I've kind of just keep throwing in different scraps and bits and pieces, so it's overflowing a little bit. So I will definitely need to do some organising once the challenge is finished and pop things back in their original homes. And then I don't know, maybe I'll use that basket as a bit of an ongoing thing for just like a project basket, or maybe I will see if I want to do something else. I'm not sure, but I think throughout the challenge it has been really nice just to have a sort of central place that I can go to, and at least, even though I'm using things that are outside of that, having it as like a sort of core place with all my materials, like my stamps, my stapler, different bits and pieces. Even just my glue, tossing it in there so I don't spend 5 minutes searching around on my desk wondering where my glue stick has gone, which has happened in the past, and normally it's rolled under the table. But you know, it just saves me a lot of time, and I think especially with showing up and doing this as a daily practice, it has definitely helped with being able to do this a bit more consistently. And I've really loved showing up every day, you know, even though this, I would say, is not one of my favourite pages, but I still wanted to try and be true to the prompt and still have a go. So I'm showing up and just sort of, you know, this is the page that I've created, guys. It's not a masterpiece. It's not one of my favourites at all. And I'm not saying that in a way that you should say that you like it, because I just want to be honest with you guys. And, you know, when you're creating every single day, not every day is going to be something that you really like, but there's always something that you can learn from it. I think I do really like the trim that I add, the really chunky one, that fabric, because I've been sort of wondering for a while how I can use that within a journal. So I do like that, but I think the different colours on the page. I'm not so sure. I kind of didn't get into the groove really. I don't know if that green was just throwing me off or what it was. I tried to come in, you'll see in a moment, with some white acrylic paint to try and help bring everything together a little bit. And even at one point I started looking like back through my pages to be like, okay, what is it that I'm missing from this page that I've done in previous pages that I've liked? So by doing that, I sort of flipped back and I was like, okay, well, I did like this technique, or I added these details. Let's see if bringing those into this page here might help me to get into the groove a little bit more with it. But sometimes it's just one of those days. But this fabric here, so this is like a bit of a lace or ribbon, and I thought that it would be fun to cut part of this off and then use it as a bit of a tab. So I'm just seeing here where I want to position it on this page. So because it's a smaller page, you don't see it through this side of the journal, but it's still a nice way to add some texture. And I had the space for it because it's the width of the page is shorter, so I was able to get away with doing that. And then I just stapled it. I added 2 staples because when I stapled it once, it didn't feel quite as secure as it should have done, but it's just a bit of lace, so you kind of need a bit more security on how you're fixing it. And I knew that glue definitely wasn't going to cut it, so that's why I went in with my stapler, which I've been using a lot during this challenge. I've actually really enjoyed just stapling things on. You know, it's really quick, gets the job done, and I quite like the look of it a lot of the time as well, because it feels a little bit more eclectic to have something stapled than to precisely glue something to the page. So this is the white acrylic that I mentioned that I added onto this page. So you'll see I'm just sort of going around the edges of the collage elements, so where they overlap, in an effort to try and help them blend together a bit more, to feel a bit more cohesive. And then by adding some of the white acrylic in different areas, I'm able to push back certain aspects, and then by doing that, other things will pull to the surface. So it adds a little bit of depth and dimension, and just a little bit of paintiness, which I quite enjoy on these spreads. They don't feel so rigid when, you know, you've got some collage elements on the page, and I don't know, sometimes it just feels a little bit too structured for me. So I really like to start adding paint and start adding these different details as a way to try and bring everything together, to merge it and like mold it into one cohesive background piece. And so that's why I am adding in all these different elements. I've also got these vintage stamps here, and I actually picked out a couple that match the colour scheme that I'm working with. So I have this actual green and pink one there, and then just a grey one for a more neutral tone. And so I added those on the left hand side of the page just for some more detail, and just to have a bit more collage elements on the page, especially in the bottom left hand corner there. It was feeling a little bit plain, and I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to add, so I decided that these stamps would be a nice addition, and they're almost becoming more of a foreground element. So I've kind of put my background pieces in, and then I'm sort of building my way up to the focus point of this page. And you'll see here I'm kind of looking back and just seeing what I've done on previous pages, because the one thing I felt that I was missing was a focal point on this page, and I wasn't sure whether it was going to be on the left, on the right, or whether I was trying to do the whole page. It was feeling a little bit disconnected, and so whilst I was thinking still about what I wanted to do, I decided just to keep adding some more details, some more scribbling. So I am using some different coloured pencils here. adding those fabric ruffles to the edge of my page. I think I, in equal parts, love it, and I'm also like, what on earth have I just added to my page? But it looks so cool from the side of the journal. It adds a lot of chunk to an already chunky journal, but I really love the way that it looks. And using that tag that I had pre-decorated, bringing that into the page, I think really helped to add a focal point to this page. And so I'm just adding some bold lettering here with these letter stickers, and so I think adding the black as well really helped to bring in a bit of contrast for this page and helped to anchor the tag as well. It didn't feel like it was floating so much on this page, but yeah, there's a lot of different things going on this page, isn't there? A lot of texture, but I think it's a really fun way to work with fabrics within my journal. And I think that although it's not one of my favourite pages on this journal, it was definitely one that I probably had the most fun doing. I quite enjoyed the process once I got into it and trying to figure out what I wanted to do on this page. But that is the finished result. Thank you so much for hanging out with me as always. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.